For the past 2 years, the southern province of Zambia has suffered from poor rainfall and even poorer harvests. Sticking rigidly to traditional farming methods and to drought-prone maize, most farmers have been left with little or with nothing. But some farmers in the region, such as Sam Chungu and his wife Estelle, did harvest a decent crop from their dry and dusty fields, thanks to a technique known as conservation farming. The main innovation is the use of permanent basins. Dug at regular intervals, the basins not only retain moisture, but also ensure that fertilizer is not wasted by being spread too thinly across the fields. The basins are then reused each year, but seeded with different crops, since rotation is also crucial to the process. But breaking with tradition is hard, and so is the new approach in the beginning.
In the first years, it's really difficult because you really have to have a lot of energy to break the soil. And we introduced for the first time again in Zambia the chakaho. We named it after Shaka, the great Zulu warrior from the south. And the years that follow, since they're digging in the same basins, it becomes a lot easier. And also the precision to detail, all the fertilizer, all the organic manure they use is placed in a basin, in one basin. So the residual fertilizer that is left from the other years also helps to bring the fertility levels of the soils up.
Along with the initial training, all those who adopt conservation farming techniques, such as Sam and Estelle, are given a refresher course each year to ensure precision and to introduce new equipment, such as the Zamwipe, a unique and remarkably successful weed-killing tool, which farmers simply sweep across their fields. Over 70,000 Zambian farmers have already adopted conservation farming, and the technique is gaining ground every year, due to the obvious benefits of the new approach and to training programs supported by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization and run by NGOs such as Zambia's Conservation Farming Unit.
In the southern region of Africa, most farmers, in fact commercial and small-scale farmers, follow conventional practices which are characterized, I think, more than anything else by waste. You know, they waste water, they waste their resources, they waste their labor, we waste energy, we waste the soil. So conservation farming is all about increasing farmers' productivity by minimizing that waste, so that whatever resources farmers have, whether you're resource poor or whether you're well off, whether you farm with a tractor or with a hoe, conservation farming and conservation tillage practices will benefit you substantially.
And extra production is needed now more than ever to help combat the HIV/AIDS epidemic. In the nearby town of Monzi, the adult prevalence rate is 17%, slightly lower than the national average, but still high enough to leave an increasing number of households unable to provide for themselves.
At the farming community level themselves, there is this loss in productivity, less acreage that is plowed, because they are tending more to the sick than to the fields.
But conservation farming can help households affected by HIV/AIDS by saving valuable time and energy. Trainers stress the need to use labour-saving devices, such as the Zamwipe, and to spread the preparation out over many months. And after the first year, the work does become progressively less and less taxing. But the main advantage is simple: improved yields.
We have a classic example where an old lady of 84, she has lost all her children to HIV/AIDS, and now she's left with the burden of having to look after her grandchildren. And conservation farming has really helped her to sustain the livelihood of those children.
We can offer families a better and more balanced diet and liberate them from the concern that, you know, by halfway through the dry season they'll have run out of food, which is terribly worrying if you're anybody, but if you're also somebody who's perhaps disadvantaged by HIV/AIDS, it's even more of a greater concern.
As a 74-year-old headman, Sam Chungu should no longer be straining away in his fields. But his daughter and son-in-law both died of HIV/AIDS, leaving him with 7 grandchildren to feed. Conservation farming has certainly helped his family, as well as other affected households in Ntemi village, to cope with the devastating impact of the epidemic. But FAO and its NGO partners are also trying to halt the spread of the epidemic in rural areas by combining conservation farming training with HIV/AIDS awareness and prevention activities.
The situation is quite serious, and we've lost quite a good number of energetic young men and women who are supposed to contribute to the breadbasket of the country. And as a result, I think we've taken this step to try and create more awareness amongst the farming community so that we can try and reduce the risk of HIV and AIDS.
The HIV/AIDS sessions cover everything that participants could possibly need to know about the disease, particularly about how to prevent it. Sam Chungu knows of 3 people in his village who have died of AIDS, although he admits that the true number is much higher. He also knows that the subject is still smothered in silence and that awareness campaigns must be expanded. And HIV/AIDS awareness will continue to form part of the training program for conservation farming, which FAO is hoping to promote not only in Zambia, but also around the region.
In January and February, we want to bring people from other countries in the sub-region to Zambia to see the approach and to see some of the early results of the conservation agriculture. There are many parts of the region where we can use conservation agriculture. In those, it will be a revolution in terms of household income and household food production.
And Sam Chungu is part of that revolution. A revolution that in the face of drought and HIV/AIDS has provided him with hope for a better future.